Hey everyone, and welcome to our live. I think we have everything set. We had difficulties the last time we did a live. We didn't stream on Facebook, but I think we're okay today, aren't we, Jen dear?
I'm not sure.
Not sure? Okay. Well, let's hope so. Fingers crossed. I have my beautiful wife, Jennifer, with me today. Say hi, Jen.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, good. Awesome. And we have, I guess, James actually is helping us, I guess, in the background. And we might have a couple of the other dears helping us as well. Today is going to be an embroidery shop talk session. And we really haven't done one of these before, so I'm kind of relying on your questions. So if you have any questions regarding pretty much anything, whether it is digitizing related or whether it is embroidery related or machine related, we'll do our best to give you an answer. I don't guarantee we'll have all the answers or even necessarily the right answer for you, but we will give you an opinion, and that can always be helpful. So I think that we have a bunch of people checking in from all over the place. We have people from Oregon and from Miami and from Australia and from Florida and from Albuquerque, New Mexico and Romania and Pennsylvania, Delaware, from San Marcos, California. So from all over the place, and we appreciate all of you joining us. I do have a little bit of, I guess, a curriculum set up. I do have one issue that was, I guess, kind of, shop related that I am going to talk about, that somebody sent in a question within our email. They contacted us because there was a problem with the ESA font that they were using. That's an embroidery specific alphabet. And I tried to help problem solve some of the registration issues. So I do have a little bit of something prepared. But if you do want to send in your questions now, Jennifer will try to start fielding them, and James and I guess whoever else is helping will get those questions together, and she will pipe in and she will help us out. I see Tom's River, New Jersey. Larry's there. Hey, and Sandra from Pennsylvania. We have Ontario, Canada, Marianne. So thank you all for joining us. Now, Jennifer, do you have anything you'd like to add before we get started?
Welcome, everyone.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so here is what I'm gonna, I guess, do is I'm gonna bring up this slide right here. And we had a ESA font that is a 3D foam ESA font. Now, keep in mind the ESA fonts that I've digitized are manually digitized, but they are digitized at a specific size. And like any design that you are ever going to digitize in any software program, digitizing it at the, I guess, intended size will always give you the best results. Now, ESA fonts are embroidery specific alphabets, which means they're object based, kind of like an EMB file is to, let's say, Hatch or Wilcom platform, or a BE file is to the Stitch Artist platform. Every software program has their native file format, and because those are kind of specific to the software and they are created using the original properties and nodes, they can usually be resized and edited more, I guess, easily and with better results than taking an expanded data file. So with our 3D foam designs, I did digitize them for a specific size. And when you go, I guess, beyond that size or go smaller than that size, you can have some issues. Now, also, I have done a lot of classes on 3D foam, and I think the last webinar we did, I released, I guess, our new lessons on 3D foam. And I do have some properties with regards to underlay values for 3D foam and inset values and density values. And within our ESA fonts, even though they're digitized for foam, meaning that we pinch or cap the ends so that it tears off, I guess, cleanly or as cleanly as possible, all of those extra little properties aren't necessarily built in. So I will go in usually and edit those files a little bit to get the best possible results. Now, the design that you see on the screen here, this is where the registration problems were happening. This was a two-color ESA foam font, and there is a red outline around the outside, which is regular embroidery. So that does not have any foam. And then it does the 3D foam, which we can see in white. And the problem was, if we look kind of closely there, you can see one looks like it's sort of way too far over onto the other side, and the the 8 looks shifted as well. And that was a problem that happened over and over again. And this was a design that she actually did on a flat piece as well, just to show me what was happening. And this was also where I asked a couple of very important questions. Number one, I asked what was the application, because usually 3D designs are done on non-wearable items. You generally don't launder 3D foam. You usually run it on a cap, or something that's tubular. And this was actually on the back of the hat. So a lot of the times, if I am running a baseball hat with foam, I'm going to use my foam cap attachment, and I have a foam, I guess, and actually I don't have it here. I knew I forgot something, but you have it securely in the foam so it's not going to move, and you won't get the registration problems. She showed me the hoop that she was using, and this is a 10 needle machine. I believe it's a Brother machine, or it's a Brother or a Baby Lock, but it is a, I guess, a hoop attachment that is not your standard hoop attachment for a regular front crown of a hat. It is actually for other areas, and this was for the back of the hat. And you can still see on that flat item there was some registration problems. So that's sort of the little bit of detective work that I did with asking some questions of what they were running, why the issue is happening, which hoop they were running it on. And then I came up with a couple of solutions, because on screen, when I looked at the same design, I actually went into my software, used the exact same font, and I looked at the actual design on screen. Everything lines up perfectly. I have no issues with the outlines. They're perfect all the way around, and everything looks fine. But what you see on screen and what you get on a machine are sometimes two very different things when it comes to the finished item. And especially if we're dealing with a baseball hat that has that curved surface. As soon as you are running it on that curved surface, then you are getting some, I guess, potential registration problems and some distortion within the design. So that's where I started to run a couple of samples. And I did do what I would consider kind of the worst or best case scenarios. I pretty much knew kind of why this was happening. And it, in my opinion, was because the item was not hooped securely within the actual, I guess, frame. There was too much movement happening within that, especially when you're talking about 3D foam. You have really, really long satin stitches. So those long satin stitches, which can be, like 8 or 9 millimeters long, 7 millimeters, 6 millimeters, that's a lot of throw on the machine. Plus you have that 2 millimeters of foam that you're going through, and that's going to cause more pull compensation and more distortion. And if you multiply that by putting it on a curved surface, it's going to, I guess, dramatize the effect, and you're going to get registration problems. So I did run this where I did the outline of the 1 in the red, and then I put the foam down, and then I ran the outline of the 2, and then I put the foam down. So it was done in 2 separate pieces. I know a lot of times you like to do all of your regular embroidery first and then do your foam second. But in this situation, I didn't think it would line up because there's 2 separate objects. And I also did it on a flat surface, but I did it on a frame that was very secure. It was one of my round frames for my 10 needle machine, and that way I was able to actually run it on a flat surface. If you are going to try to do pretty much any design, 3D foam or any design with long stitches, and you float the item, I know a lot of people like to float their fabrics on top of stabilizer, and they might use some spray adhesives, they might use basting stitches, they might use some other little tricks to try to keep it as secure as possible. But you will never get the same effect as having an item properly hooped or securely hooped within a hoop. And if it's a round hoop, you know it's going to be holding all the way around perfectly. You're not going to get distortion in those long straightaways. You're going to get perfect hooping all the way around. And then, of course, if you want to master hooping, you have to know that if you're hooping an item that has stretch, you have to hoop with just enough stretch as you're hooping so that you're not pulling the item and kind of, I guess, ruining the weave of the item so that when it stretches back into shape, it distorts even further. So there's all kinds of things that can happen in the process of hooping the item. So when I did end up doing this, it actually did come out relatively clean. I mean, I had good results on the baseball hat because I used a hoop hat on my tubular attachment for my machine, and it was a 10 needle machine, so the exact same equipment, and I did it also on a flat surface. And I did use my little heat gun to basically shrink up the foam afterwards, and I had pretty good results. So if you are going to do 3D foam on a baseball hat, make sure it is hooped as securely as possible. One little trick I used to do, and maybe I'll do a video on this later in the future, but keep in mind that we ran production many, many years ago. So I'm not going to say that I'm completely up to date with a lot of the techniques that we're using today. I didn't have mighty hoops in production. We had old-fashioned hoops, but we did try to be pretty innovative. We actually had all kinds of I guess apparatuses for hooping baseball hats, where we had a foot pedal that would automatically stretch the hat down. Do you remember those, Jen? You'd push with your foot and it would actually have a panel that would stretch the hat down. And we had a laser crosshair on it so that we could line up the center seam of the hat. Keep in mind that if you're running a cap on a single head machine, you can always easily line up that needle to the center seam and you're not going to have any issues. But we didn't have single head machines that we ran in production. Our smallest tubular machine was an 18 head machine, and we actually would hoop 18 hats at the same time, which means that if any one of those 18 hats was not hooped perfectly so that it was down the center seam, the first one might be okay where you drop the needle, but then the next ones on the run might be off from the center seam. So we did have crosshair lasers that we actually set up so that we could get that perfect center seam every single time. So there were all kinds of tricks that we did, but one of the tricks that we did, because you got to remember on a baseball hat, and Jennifer, can I ask you to run into the other room, and you're going to see some baseball hats on the white table there. Okay, as soon as you go past the ironing board, apologize. I always forget something, but if I have a baseball hat that is a 6-panel hat, so meaning that it is a hat that's sewn together that has 2 panels on the front, and then it goes around, it's called a 6-panel hat. Those front 2 panels that you actually embroider on, and if you want to come around here, Jennifer, but do not get in front of the camera, okay? Because I will never, ever live it down. I'll reach all the way. Okay.
I won't.
Okay. So here I have a couple hats. Now this is a 6-panel hat. You can see the center seam going down the panel right there. But this actually has laminated buckram on the back. So this is a really good structured hat to embroider on because it has that laminated buckram. Now, the downside is you actually have that center seam that has that material with the laminated buckram that gets folded over not once, but again twice to create that nice ridge on there. And then you have that piping going down the center. So you have a whole bunch of layers of laminated, or I guess buckram going on the actual material that is making that seam. And if you have a cap machine that is sewing into the center seam, you will probably, and give me some thumbs up if you're on Facebook or give me a comment on YouTube, but you will obviously have heard the difference. You can tell audibly when you hear that needle hit that center seam of that baseball hat, because it starts to struggle. And if you have too much density, if you have too many stitches, if you have a letter I, you can lose it in the center seam. You have all those issues, but you want to make sure, especially with these types of hats, that when you hoop them inside of your cap hoop, that they are going right across the ridge where the peak meets the crown. That metal guide with the little teeth is holding in there securely. And when that hat is hooped in there, it's really, really tight. Now, one thing that we did do, we had garment steamers set up at every single machine. The garment steamers for garments would be great for taking out hoop burn when you were doing finishing. So the person who was taking the items off the machine, keep in mind our machines that did our flat goods, we actually, meaning our shirts and stuff, we didn't always use tubular machines. We had flatbed machines. And our flatbed machines were 24 head machines. So if we position them properly, like a golf shirt, we could do 24 golf shirts at a time. And the person who was running production would take them off, cut away the stabilizer. They'd help to start finish it before it got to all of the, post, I guess, packaging type of stuff where we'd make sure it was cleaned and folded and pressed properly. But we had garment steamers because that hoop burn that you'll get on a garment, if you take your garment steamer, which it has a handle on it, it has that little head, that will help you to get rid of the hoop burn on your garments. But we also had a garment steamer set up where our caps were, and we would actually take the cap and sit the cap right on that head of the garment steamer. So you saw steam kind of popping out around the hat. Now, the reason why we did that is if you have that hat sitting there getting steamed, it is softening the laminated buckram. So when you go to hoop it and you hoop it tightly so that the metal teeth go across where the peak and the crown are, you get a really, really nice hooping. That is probably one of the best tricks that I can give for hooping a hat properly and making sure that it's going to be as secure as possible to get the best results. Now, do we have any questions so far, Jennifer?
Yep, I have a few questions
here.
questions,
and I have more information on this, so ask some questions, Jen, and they don't have to be related to what I'm talking about either.
Okay. John was asking, was there any new updates coming out soon for Digitizer?
For digitizer, not that I am aware of. We get told almost the same time everybody else does.
Okay, so not yet.
Not yet.
Marie is asking, temporary spray, is it a good or a bad idea?
The temporary spray or spray adhesives, and there's many different brands out there. I find that they are useful in certain situations. If you are doing appliques, if you are wanting to give something a little extra stability, if you are floating an item, and there is certain circumstances where you will, the key to it is to make sure that a little dab will do you. You don't want to give a ton of spray on something, because then it can potentially gum up your needles. That's why a lot of times I'm not a huge fan of the tacky stabilizers, because they have a tendency to gum up your needles, and you're constantly having to almost wipe your needles down after each run that you do on the machine. So do I like spray adhesives? Definitely yes, 2 thumbs up. I know that one brand makes one with a green lid, which actually means that the propellant in it is environmentally friendly. So if I had to make a choice of buying one or the other, I'd do the one that's best for the environment. And in certain circumstances, it works really, really well, but I don't use it for everything.
Okay. And next question. Gary's asking, could you show how to do color blending for satin stitches?
Ooh, color blending for satin stitches. Well, and it was Gary?
Yes.
Okay. Gary, next week I actually have a video on YouTube coming out for blending colors on fills, and that's 2-color blending, and that's almost done. I'm not going to show you the sample. It's sitting right over there, but I can't show you the sample right now. I am then going to do a video on 3-color blending, and I will now put on my list for probably 3 or 4 weeks down the road to do a video on blending satins, which is not easy to do. So I'll put that on my list.
Okay. Monique is asking, will you perhaps include hat-friendly designs on the website?
Possibly. They're really, really tough because if I do have a design that I know is really small, I do try to digitize it with a bottom-up, inside-out type of scenario, which is what you usually want for a finish hat. But keep in mind that most times commercially, people usually have logos with lettering on hats. So even though your cap might have some, and also it depends on your machine, because some of your machines in reality only have like a 2-inch height allowance, where there's other machines where you can actually get up to 3 inches based on the way the machine functions. I mean, my 10-needle machine and my ZSK machine are a world of difference when it comes to hats, but they're also a difference in price as well. So I don't have many designs that I've digitized for hats, because those would usually be logos that are like 1 inch to 1.5 inches in height to adjust for lettering to be put on as well. So I try to do my best, but I don't have a lot of digitized designs for caps.
Sherry Weldon is asking, I've noticed you use digitized blocks more often than digitized closed shapes. Is there a reason for that?
Digitized blocks than digitized closed shapes. Yes, because I feel that it has more control for adjusting widths of things and also from changing straights to curves on either side. So that is where I am kind of old school, because one of the foundational tools in software going back to the old Digitrack days was point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint. And that's sort of the ladder effect, where you're building your stitch angles based on the steps of your ladder. So I use those more than anything else, probably just because I'm more accustomed to them and I feel they give me more control. Some software gives you actually other inputs, they call it, which will allow you to control nodes on side A and then independently on side B. But there we're talking about different software.
Okay. Angela is asking, is it possible to show how the crosshair laser is set up?
I haven't had one of those set up for many, many years. And keep in mind, this is, how many years ago did we run production, Jennifer, on Tychos Avenue?
Tychos Drive?
Yeah, Tychos Drive.
25?
25 years ago. So it's been a long time since I ran production. And I got to, well,
And we're getting old.
And yeah, we're getting old. And Jennifer used to come in on the night shift. Remember when we were really young, Jen? You used to help me on the night shift when we used to run jackets for Roots Canada and Murray Merkley and all kinds of, and Crabtree and Evelyn. We had a whole bunch of orders for them. But the reason why I'm kind of going back, what was the question again? I'm getting lost in nostalgia here.
About showing
the laser. Okay. Yeah, the lasers that we had were almost like new technology at the time, 25 years ago, and it was literally a crosshair layer, and we just jigged it up over top of the other machine that we engineered with the foot pedal to stretch the hat down. I wish I would have taken pictures in those days of all the crazy things that we tried to engineer to make our job better. Keep in mind that when we ran production, again, in those days, there was a lot of manufacturing going on in North America. So we worked with cap manufacturers. I mean, here's a design, and I wanted to show this because this is a 6-panel hat right here. But if you look at this 6-panel hat, and let's see if I can get it nice and clean, that actually is on the peak, on the crown of the hat. It goes all the way. And look at the crazy large lettering on the back. I mean, this was done not on a finished cap machine. This was done on panels by the manufacturer that sent us the designs, and we were able to sew flat goods and do mass production all at the same time. So we weren't running a single head. And that's where a design that's digitized properly, most people these days domestically are running 1 head, 2 heads, 4 heads, 6 heads, maybe 12 heads, but there's not a lot of companies out there that are running the large multi-head equipment. And you can have a design that runs really well on a 1, 2, or 4 head machine, but you take that same design, put it on a 24. We even had, our partner had a 30 head machine in the old days, a flatbed machine, Tajima, and you start to magnify the thread breaks, the bobbin issues, everything gets magnified the more heads that you have running all at the same time. So I always have given credit to the digitizers who've trained me in my career, because I did not write the rules that I share with you guys. I didn't come up with them. I didn't invent them. I was taught by Shifley masters and by other digitizers. When I was very young, I was taught foundational rules that still apply today. But the person who probably taught me more than anything else is, can you guess who it is? Inga. Okay, you knew right away. Inga, I ran one of our 2 factories, which had the multi-head equipment. And in our day shift, we had an incredible forelady. Her name is Inga Poplar. And Inga is, she might be watching. I don't know if she would be, but anyways, Inga is an incredible lady, and she was from Switzerland, but she was not a puncher, but she was an embroiderer, and she taught me more because she ran our production during the day shift, and I was upstairs digitizing, designs for us in our partner's factory. And we had other digitizers as well. But if there was ever a problem with a design that was on the floor, Inga would scream. And I mean, remember how she used to treat me, Jen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, think of a lady bringing me downstairs and me being that, that pupil walking down the stairs with my head down low. And if I did something really dumb on that design, she would almost like smack me in the back of the head and say, "What were you thinking?" So there is something about having a design that runs well in production. And that is
And if
really
it
the key.
didn't, you had to correct
And
it.
if it didn't run well in production, you had to correct it. And then top it off, keep in mind in those days, to edit a design, you didn't necessarily bring it into a software program, make a few little adjustments, and then pop out a new file. We were dealing with paper tape. I had to re-digitize and cut paper tape. Okay, anyways, go ahead, Jen. Next one.
Question in regards to, does Hatch embroidery software allow you to digitize designs where the jump stitch is automatically cut rather than having to cut and clean them after the design is stitched out? Or does that function only happen within the multi-needle machine versus a single needle machine?
It's a very it's a hard answer, because usually if a machine has trimmers, whether it's domestic or commercial, within the properties of the machine, you can usually go in and you can tell it to set the amount of jumps to register a trim. You can also set the stitch length on the machine before it registers trims. So there might be some settings in your machine that you can adjust to activate trims. But if I know that I want a design to trim, what I will do while I'm digitizing it is make sure that my objects are far enough apart by my stop and the start of my next object, so I know the machine has no choice but to activate the trimmers.
Do you want to make yourself full screen so
Full
people
screen?
can see your
Yep.
hand gestures
Sure.
a little better?
Yep.
Thank you.
So I would definitely, actually, see what the next slide was real quick. Okay. Oh, I don't want to show that. Jen, you ruined it. I have to show it now. But anyways, we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so hand gestures. Yeah, go ahead. Next question.
Always my fault.
It's not your fault.
Colleen's asking, well, actually, she said she wanted to give you a thank you. She'd been working on creating small, clean detail patches and hats for some time, and following several of your videos, she finally had repeatable success. So, yay, Kathleen.
Yay. And it is, embroidery is a lifelong learning experience. That's the beauty of it. It gets easier as you get more and more involved with it. And if you can help others and have education that helps to support that, but there is a learning curve. So just be patient and keep trying.
And try again.
Try again. Yeah.
Nancy says, could you please tell me about the tool you use to shrink the foam?
The tool I use to shrink the foam, Jennifer, it's right there. If you could grab it for me, it's got its second shelf down. Someday I should give you guys a tour of my studio here. Yep, it's the little black cord right there. See the black? Yep. And it looks like, yep, that's it. Thank you. I'll give you a tour of my studio and my sampling room sometime, because you guys might see what's behind me and think this looks so nice and organized. Jennifer, what's the reality of it?
Anybody who truly knows John.
Okay, this is the tool. I got it on Amazon. It is, I don't even know what they call it. It's just, it says on it heat tool. That's all it says, but it is actually a little blower. You plug it in and it is like a mini heat gun. It gets hot, it has a little stand, and I will just tear off my foam and go over the areas with this little gun, and it actually just shrinks it up so you have nice clean results. So that's what I was, and this was like, $25 or something. So.
Okay, Monique is asking, would you consider doing videos showing how to modify some designs into being hat friendly?
I can. If you have a design in question that you would like me to modify, and you have, I guess, the permission from the company, meaning that we can't obviously do a video and post a design that we don't have permission from, not just you, but the company whose logo it belongs to, then I would be happy to take a sample, or if you can provide a couple, or anybody out there who's watching. We do what's called embroidery medic videos, and I've done quite a few that have, I guess, taken designs that are not necessarily working well, and I edit or redigitize it to work properly in production. So I would be happy to do that. I just need to have a file to work from. And you can send that to contact@embroiderylegacy.com. No guarantee that we'll use it, but we do, definitely try to find things to take a look.
Yeah, and those videos are on our
YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gail is asking, I'm having trouble with offsets under applique. Is there a way to fix that?
Offsets under applique. I should do an applique video as well. And again, this is just going back to my old school thing. I'm going to try to do a video using the applique tools within the Hatch software to see if I can get the best results that I personally like. Now, the reason why I say it that way is, being old school, I have certain values of insets and tack downs that I still to this day do usually manually. Even though the software has auto features in it, which are great because they're fast and sometimes give you half decent results, I still will go back to doing it manually so I know it's done properly.
Okay. Brando was asking, could you embroider a G-string?
I'm blushing. I've embroidered all kinds of things in my career. Actually, and the reason why I'm laughing is I should pull that out. It might be in the samples that James has. I did one of our lace designs we actually did as a G-string once. Remember that, Jim? Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can embroider G-strings. You can embroider pretty much anything you want. But what happens in the privacy of your embroidery room stays in your embroidery room. So
Benson is asking, any plans on adding barcodes on Hatch?
That I'm not sure. I know within Wilcom's commercial platforms that obviously is a tool, but I'm not sure if they will for Hatch. You could actually write Wilcom. We are a reseller and we try to help with education, but we have no control over the features that they put within the program.
Yep, but they like suggestions.
But they definitely like suggestions, yes.
Yeah. What do you digitize on a sash frame, and do you advise purchasing one for premium large designs?
Okay, sash frame. Yes, a sash frame is usually a frame that comes on a commercial machine that basically floats on the table. So if you have a table, really it takes your tubular machine, because normally you have an arm that comes out so that you can slide a shirt on and have the arms or the baseball hat sort of go around that little tubular arm. It gives you a flat surface. And actually, I do have a thing here. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to give you guys a quick little demo, and I got to go quickly because I don't want to run out of time. In the old days when we did a lot of baseball hats like these, and these are kind of fun hats that I did just because we could, here's one again, the crown and the peak, and it's a little crazy, but they are fun. I entered these in contests years ago, and you can only do these on a sash frame. And keep in mind that our sash frames were not for a single head, but our sash frame was for a 24 head machine. So it was almost 5 yards long, and you could run 24 pieces on it. Now, there is a couple of different styles of hats. You have a 6-panel hat, which is this one here, and you can run a front panel on a sash frame. And keep in mind, there's no crown on there. And then you turn the actual top of the curve upwards so that you have almost a flat surface that you're going to embroider. On a OPF, or one-piece front, we used to call them, that's an actual cap like this, where it's not a 6-panel hat, you have a large panel in the front. So whenever we did mass production on stuff like this, and this is where I always had to be careful, because I always try to tell people, you want to make sure you hoop, you hoop, you hoop. But in the old days, when we had our sash frames, we would actually do stuff like this. I'm going to make this smaller here. Let's go over here. Okay, and I'm going to see if I can get into my software, so just be patient with me, guys. So if I had a machine that had a huge sash frame, so there's a gigantic sash frame, and keep in mind there was like a bunch of heads, and I'm not going to draw out 24 of them, but we'll just pretend that those heads are going, those are needles, by the way, and you are going to just be amazed at my drawing ability. But I would actually, in my sash frame, I would hoop one big piece of stabilizer. So I would have a piece of tearaway stabilizer, and then at the very top of the sash frame, I would actually run a registration line. So I'd have all of these little registration lines that look like this. And on those registration line, there'd be a little tick in it. That tick was for the center of the hat. And then what we would do is we would take all of our cap panels. So if it was a one-piece front, we would actually take that and we would put it down over top of that guide. So we'd have all of our cap panels in place. And then once they were in place, we would take a running stitch and we would go back and forth and just very close to the, I guess, bottom of the crown, because we knew it would be, covered later on when it was sewn actually as a hat. We would tack that in place so that all of our machines, or sorry, all of our cap pieces were tacked down, and then we would do the embroidery on the design. So we'd literally sew 24 pieces all at once. And then after it did those, we just simply, on that big sash frame, run another placement line. And then we would put the next piece down. And because we were frugal embroiderers, we would make sure that we adjusted our panels so that they would overlap on the next panel so that we wouldn't waste stabilizer, and we continue to tack those down and then run the embroidery. And we would continue that process over and over and over again so that you would have, like, 100 or 150 caps all on this one piece of tearaway stabilizer, and then you just rip them off when you're done, send them to the manufacturer, clean them up, and they'd put the hat together. We would also, in the old days, take canvas and we would create canvas, I guess, frames within our sash frames. So we would literally cut out windows, and almost like a cut work, we would stitch with a zigzag stitch so that we had a solid window there. And then we would take a piece or a roll of stabilizer, and we would literally have the stabilizer go across underneath of the sash frame so that we would do the embroidery and then tear off the panels and then just pull out more, like toilet paper, stabilizer, so that you could embroider within those little windows again. I mean, there were so many ways that we did mass production. You got to remember that this was in a day where we did have cap panel programs, where I remember we did like 250,000 caps with all the same design. The machines ran for 3 shifts for months just doing designs on hats. So there's, do I love sash frames? Definitely, especially for doing really, really big stuff like this. These designs, the artistic designs that we have on our site, those are all done on our sash frames. And I wish should I go grab the sash frame just so people can see what it looks like? Do you want to grab it? Jennifer's going to grab it. Okay. It is, as soon as you go out the door, right on the 15 needle machine, is facing in between the thing. You're going to see a sash frame right there. If you don't see it right away, then just come right back.
Okay.
Do you have a question that I can do while you're off getting that?
Sure. Somebody's asking, how do you bring in a design into Hatch in a different format? That should be just your minute to look that
Sure. That I know that there is export design and there is import design. And with the import design, you can choose in the drop down whether it is, or open design, whether it is an EMB file and all embroidery file formats, or you can choose the specific ones. Keep in mind that when you bring in an expanded design, meaning an expanded stitch design like PES, DST, EXP, JEF, what you're going to end up doing is choosing either to leave that design as stitches so that when you bring it in, you can do stitch editing, or there is a feature where you can tell it to convert to objects. And that is kind of one of those things where it's do that at your own risk, because when it converts to objects, it's not converting objects the way you are digitizing them, I can guarantee it. But this is a sash frame. Yep. Hold on, Jen, get in there, Jen. Further. Oh, there. Okay, Jennifer, do that one more time. Jennifer's on camera. Did you see her hand there? Okay, sorry. Okay, so this is a sash frame for my 15 needle machine, and this is what I would use for, some of these big designs that you see behind me over here. So, and they clamp in. I mean, it's awesome. And this is the same type of sash frame we had on the 24 head machines.
Jonathan says he loves all of our designs. They run awesome. And anyways, he's enjoying them. They've run a couple hundred since January. So
yay.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan. And a little disclaimer here, guys. We do provide the EMB file formats for most of our designs, not all of them. So you can bring them in and do editing and change stitch types, all that kind of stuff. But I will let you know that, as I mentioned at the very beginning, if I digitize a design, and if I digitize, let's say, this design right here. The size that I digitize it at will always give you the best results. And normally I provide 3 sizes, a small, medium, and large. The medium is usually, for this size, is usually the base design. And then I'll go up and down a little bit. But I try to go up and down so that you won't have disastrous results, because you can't go too far up or down. But if you look at a design that goes up too much, then if you have objects that when you digitize it at scale, you have a space from here to here, and then you increase the design, the space between those objects gets wider. And it might get wider to the point that you have some trims that get activated on your machine. So I know I try to digitize designs with as few trims as possible, which I do at the base size. But if I'm giving you sizes that go up, there might be a few extra trims because the software is blowing that design up and increasing the space between objects.
Okay, Sandra's asking, how do you use the embossing heat gun?
The embossing heat gun? Not sure. Oh, I'm not sure. Is that the gun that I just showed, or I'm not sure what she's referring to?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Sandra, if you're listening, if you want to clarify exactly your question, how to use the embossing heat gun, if that's what John was referring to earlier.
Yep. Okay. And how are we on time? I don't want to go too long, guys.
22.
20. Okay. I'll come back to a couple questions, but I'll just go through a couple things real quick, and then we will come back to our questions just so that we can make sure we get everything covered.
Perfect, because we do have more questions.
Okay. I actually did a design just for moms, which is, or if you have a mom, then I did a design for you to give to your mom. So that means that I pretty much did a free design for everyone. Yay. So we want to wish everybody a happy Mother's Day. And there is a free design that we are posting. James should be putting up a link. And it is a design using one of our flexi fills. And I used Mylar and I cut it apart using the knife tool. And I separated it. So we got some really cool results like you see there. And it actually is a design that runs really well for a sweatshirt. We got way too much stuff here, guys. Sorry about that. But it's a nice design. And that probably hurt the audio, but that's the way the rest of my office works. But here is the design right here. So there we have the mom. It has Mylar in it, and it's a full front for a sweatshirt or t-shirt, and it is super duper soft. And we know by, I guess, past events, we have to make sure we do a Mother's Day design for mums. And we're talking about all of our friends in the UK and in Australia, because I've learned that you do not just do MOM, you do MUM as well. So that's our free gift for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. And we just want to wish you guys all a very, very blessed Mother's Day.
Yes.
Awesome. Did you guys like that? Give us some hearts if you did. But oh, and by the way, this Saturday, I think, there's a video coming up on YouTube that actually shows how I created that. So if you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, we'd appreciate it. Hit that bell so that you'll be notified. But there is a video coming up showing how to do that this week. Awesome. And oh, one more thing. Our summer designs we have on sale for 51% off, and we have like 260 summer designs on our website. A lot of other ones that I'm sure would fall into those categories, but you can click right on it within our listing and see all the designs that are available. And if you aren't a member of our Legacy Design Club, check it out, because it is the absolute best way to get quality designs at an incredible price. Our designs normally, like this design, well, like some of the designs here, the smaller ones, they're $3.95 on our website. The same design, if you are an embroidery addict, is 44.5 cents. That's what it costs per design. So if you like good designs for under 50 cents, it is the best way to go. And also, just to let you know, and I did announce this 2 weeks ago, but it is something that I wanted to repeat for all of our club members, because we have a lot of you out there who do sew a lot of designs. Your design club points now roll over every month. You got to use them by the end of the year, your subscription, you got to use them all up, but you don't have to go crazy downloading all your designs every month. If you are away on holiday, they'll roll over to the next month. Awesome. Now, more questions, Jennifer.
Yes. So one of the digitizing tools is a pen. When is it appropriate to use that the pen opposed to digitized open or closed shapes?
First off, I will say that the pen tool within your software is not necessarily friendly with this thing here, a mouse. If you're trying to use the pen tool with a mouse, it's kind of like trying to do fine art with a brick. It just doesn't flow as well. So if you're going to use the pen tool and you want to have really good results, then you should have a pen. And if you do want to find reasonable pen tablets, we do on our website have, I forget where it is, but we have like an Amazon links list where we actually have certain products. There is some very affordable Yuion tablets that you can purchase. They kind of plug into your laptop or your PC, and it gives you the ability to draw on the screen. So you bring your artwork up. It's not like a tablet where you'd have it beside you. You're actually drawing on the screen, and it is the friendliest way to digitize. I've been using PC pen tablet technology, meaning on monitors, for probably close to 25 years now. I think we got them in like maybe 22 years. I think 2000 was maybe when we got them, right?
A
long time ago. So I have one of the old ones up on my shelf over there, which when I talked about you seeing the rest of my studio, there's a graveyard of electronics up over there as well. So
that's another collection.
Yeah, that's another collection. Yes. My thread collection.
Did I mention
you got to see my
the
person with the most threads wins. How many thread colors do you need? All of them. How many different brands do you need? As many as you can find. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Michael's asking, do you have any plans to do an advanced course on creating fonts?
Possibly. We have, hopefully, God willing, we have some things coming up for next year where we will try to get into some more advanced classes. But it's one of those things where I would love to do it. It's just how much interest will there actually be? So if you are interested, then again, send us an email. Let us know. Those do require a lot of work, because you got to remember with fonts, there's not just a font like ABCD. There is serifs, there is scripts, there is blocks, there's athletic blocks, there's small fonts, there's large fonts, and it's a lot of different possibilities.
Very custom.
Yeah, very custom.
But if enough interest?
Yep, there's enough interest, then for sure. I've digitized just a few. How many fonts do we have on our site now?
Over 800.
Yeah, almost hitting 900, I think. My goal was to hit 1,000, so we will get there eventually.
Okay, when creating digitized files in the DST format using Hatch, is it possible to adjust the color output exact to the design as it does in like a PES file format?
No, there's two file formats that are kind of the foundational, XY, meaning the movement of a sash frame, as well as the stitch commands, meaning stops, which register trims, stop commands. That is DST and EXP. The new EXP files do have, I guess, the ability to retain color, but a DST file in its raw form is just a very, very crude stitch file. There is no way to save colors to it. It'll always go back to the defaults. And to be honest, in most of my production career, we only use DST files. We always had a production sheet where we would mark which colors we were using.
All the manual ways.
Yeah, all the manual ways. Yep.
Must you use a hooping station when using Mighty Hoops?
You don't have to. I love Mighty Hoops. I wish they would have had them back in the commercial days when we did commercial embroidery, because it would have saved us so much time. If you do have Mighty Hoops and you've ever seen the Echidna hooping stations, which we are the official reseller in North America, I know there's also a reseller in the UK, and there is obviously Echidna Sewing, which is the inventor of the Echidna hooping station. They are perfect for the Mighty Hoops because they have the metal plate behind the laminated covering. So we use our Echidna hooping stations with our Mighty Hoops all the time, and it holds them in place so they don't move or slip anywhere. So is it good to use a hooping station? I would think so, because it makes things consistent. And the Echidna hooping station works even better than most others because of the metal plate behind it.
Okay. Where is the pen tool located?
The pen tool in Hatch, hold on, what's that? you know, I just happen to have Hatch open, so let's just go there real quick. And I am going to come here, and I think we're almost out of time, aren't we? But here's digitize. When I go to digitize, the pen tool is the freehand open shape. So there's the design I did, by the way, guys. If you want to see how to create this design, you can actually, let's go here. Okay, so there's my pen tool. Okay, and I love the pen tool because if I go over here and go to my 6:1 scale, which is what I digitize at, I can see just how I can do blending. If you want to do some really cool blending, I can come in here, do something like that, and then I can choose another color, and I can come here and do some really cool blending like that. And that might not look like much, but when you bring that back, you can see how they start blending together. So that's, if people wonder, am I really quick? Yes, I am, because I have the right tools for the job. And I also have a bit of experience.
I'll add in there this question, being
Yep.
you're talking about the tools. I'm trying Hatch now, and it looks like it will be a great program. How do you use your drawing tablet? Do you draw it and pull it in?
Actually, well, just so you know, and again, check out our website under the, and I don't have our site up. Next time I will do that. But we do have links to Amazon resellers that have the actual tablets, and it is a monitor. So like, think of a monitor that you purchase, you plug in, and most of them are plug and play. I didn't even have to load in drivers other than my Wacom that I'm using right now. And it literally gives you a pen, and you literally load your artwork in on your screen, so it's a backdrop, and then you're literally drawing right on the screen. It is the best, hands down, way to digitize. I do own a Wacom 32-inch Cintiq Pro. They are crazy, crazy expensive, but this is what I do for a living, and it's my passion. So of course you have to have the best toys, because you need to give reasons for Jennifer to yell at you for buying those expensive items, right?
Right. Tracy says, I've been stitching your new animal faces on denim jackets for her grandson's first birthday, and they all stitch beautifully. Thank you. She loves them.
Awesome, awesome. Well, this year was the year of designs for us. We have some incredible releases coming out. I can't let anything out of the bag, but there's lots coming.
Okay. Question, can you do a video with 3D puff stuff on the cap?
Yes, I will. I will do that. We have some announcements coming up for that in the very, very near future as well. We have announced our puff stuff. Some of you might not even know about it, and we kind of haven't talked about it in a little while, because we've been planning something that I know everybody's going to love. So in the very near future, we will be having lots of education and videos specifically for puff stuff.
Okay. And is there any way for Hatch to export to a Z00?
No, there is not at this point. Keep in mind, Hatch is the, I guess, Wilcom platform for the home industry. So if you are looking for commercial formats, that would be, I guess, formats and some other tools that would be in their commercial software, which is, in my opinion, a great program, but a lot more expensive than the Hatch program is.
Okay. If someone has a ZSK machine and they don't want just the DST file, they want it to retain colors, is there a different file format that would be appropriate to use?
Actually, this is where you might do a little bit of research. I know that Wilcom does have some online tools now available where you pay a subscription, and they might give you the ability to bring in a DST and then output it to that format if you don't want to spend all the money and get the commercial software. So that might be an option. Keep in mind, we do have 2 ZSK machines that we run samples on, and again, we use the DST files. So I guess, you know, it's a little bit, we do a run sheet. We print off a production run sheet which shows all of our colors, and then we just assign the colors on the panel of the ZSK to the colors of thread that we want. So I get it. Let's put it this way. When I came from the commercial to the home industry, I didn't realize that you even had files that retain color information. This is going back many, many, many years. But when I first came over, I was like, a lady would call us and be all upset because her, red roses were coming out purple. And I was like, well, change the thread and they'll be red. But anyways, it's one of those things.
Okay, and when purchasing designs, how will the licensing work? Does it allow you to reproduce for resale?
Every company is different, so make sure that when you actually purchase designs from us or any other company, you find out what their terms and conditions are and their licensing for their designs. For ours, we have what's called a limited commercial license, where you can use our designs for resale. You're not allowed to sell our files. You aren't allowed to duplicate our files. You're not allowed to take elements of our designs and then sell them as your files. That you're not allowed to do. But you are able to use our files, embroider items, and then sell them under our limited commercial license, which I think is 50 items per order. So in reality, you can use it as many times as you want. We want people to make money with our designs because that's how we started out. But we do not want you to mass produce 300,000 items offshore, bring them in, and then drop them into a big box store. If you do want to do that with one of our designs, call us and we'll be happy to provide you with a license that will make everybody happy, including us.
Okay, lots of thank yous. So thank you guys
Yes,
for
thank you.
watching along and giving us inspiration and support. Somebody is asking, um, who are your inspirations when it comes to embroidery designs, or where do you get them from?
My inspirations, well, my inspirations go way back to my mentors in the industry, digitizers who taught me, my grandparents who started our business. As far as artwork is concerned, we have certain artists that we've dealt with for many, many years, and I make sure that the artwork that I get is artwork that we're able to get an extended commercial license for so that we're able to use them. So I more or less digitize what I kind of like for the most part. And we do have almost 30,000 designs, and that's anything from very simplistic butterflies to very artistic butterflies. I will say that over the years, I've probably gotten, I guess, more to the point where I want to digitize stuff that keeps me interested. Because if you've learned anything about digitizing, it's that there is a ton of clicking, meaning you're going right, left, right, left, right, left with your mouse, a point, counterpoint. And it's kind of boring if you think of it just as clicking your mouse. But if you think of it as creating something and then all of the other elements involved, it's a hobby that you'll never get bored with, right?
Yep, everything's different.
Everything's different. Every design that I do every single day is slightly different, so I've never gotten bored. Well, I have gotten bored. I shouldn't say that, but it's yeah, something that you don't go crazy. Another question?
Don't see any other questions, but then again, it does take a few minutes to sort of pop through for me.
Well, real quick, we did last, I guess 2 weeks ago, release our Embroidery 101 video course and cheat sheet. It's our digitizing cheat sheet. It is a free PDF and a free 20-minute video on YouTube that you can watch. So check that out, guys. And it's really some of those foundational rules, whether you want to be a digitizer or whether you just want to edit designs or whether you just want to run embroidery designs on your machine and you want to know why things are happening. This will give you foundational information that I think every embroiderer should have, and it's absolutely free.
Right.
So, you can check that out. Another question? No? Okay, and the other thing is Hatch. We are an official Hatch reseller. Hatch does have a 30-day free trial, which I love. 30 days, you can play with all the features of the software, and you can output the files so you can actually run them on your machine, which I don't think there's any other program that does that. There might be, but I'm not aware of a free trial that actually lets you not only play with the program, but stitch out the results, because the proof is always in the stitching. And then to make it even better, even though you're getting a free program to try for 30 days, that doesn't help you much if you don't know what to do with it. So we do have our free Hatch Digitizing Challenge. This is also on YouTube. You sign up, we give you the artwork, and we will give you 5 absolutely free lessons so that you can create the designs that you see there on the screen and get you started with the software so you're not sitting there for 30 days saying, that's a lot of buttons, what do I do next? Right?
Right.
Awesome. So that's about it. And then please join our Facebook groups. We have 2 of them. one which is geared to actually Hatch. It's Hatchfax, and there is 11,300 Hatch users there. So those are people who own the software. If you have any questions, that's probably the first and the best place to go, because other people will help to solve your problems with you. We also have our Embroidery Legacy and Digitizing Made Easy group and our YouTube channel. We are just itching to hit that 50,000. So we're at like 48,400 people right now. So please subscribe. Maybe I'll do a free design, something really crazy. If we hit 50,000, maybe I'll release something free. So get on there and subscribe. Awesome.
Okay, and I guess for those who aren't aware, we do have the Friday Try Days for Hatch users. That is every second Friday. We put up a
free project.
Yes.
Yep. Keep you engaged, keep you using your software. And when you use your software and you're having fun, you will embroider more stuff on your machine. And that's really what it's all about. We want to have fun with our machines, and we want to create and run designs that, don't give us frustration.
Right. Maybe Jesse and James can put the newsletter link up so people can follow along as to what's new.
Yeah, every single week we have a newsletter where we show all of our videos on YouTube. And again, this week you might want to go and see How I Made Mom. And we have a blog that comes out pretty much every week. And we have Friday Try Days, and we have new releases every single week as well. We had a couple. If you go to our new releases on our website, I had some incredibly cute teddy bears that I was planning to show you that we did last week. I love them. Again, they're artistic kind of, but they're cute. I've done a ton of teddy bears, but these ones really impress me. So,
am I running for samples?
What's that?
Just kidding.
Now you're running for samples? Actually, if I do a tour someday, I'll have to show you my sample shelf, which is gigantic. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Where are we at, Jen? Are we at the hour mark?
Yes, we're the hour. I have a lot of happy Mother's Day wishes.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day, everybody.
The baby's well. Thank you.
Yes, we appreciate you. We appreciate all you moms. We appreciate all you dads who help to... okay, anyways. Jennifer's looking at me like, okay, don't even go.
Well, that's how they're going to go one of two ways.
Yeah. And we don't want to go either way right now. But thank you guys. We appreciate your watching, and we appreciate your support.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thank you.